Good evening, everybody. Matt Geary for the Geek Pride cast on this Sunday evening. With me, we have another special guest who I will get to, but as always, we have Peter Ray Allison.
Good evening.
Mark Canty.
Hello.
And finally, our special guest for this evening, Andy Valentine. How's things, man?
Very well. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all, man. Well, bar a touch of food poisoning.
Yeah, just saying. I've just crawled out of bed after almost 3 days.
He's a legend. What a legend!
It's either flu or I'm dying. It's one of the two. So we're touch and go. See which one it is. But fingers crossed so far so good.
And there it is in the background, ladies and gentlemen. The soon to be winning jacket for the.
Oh well, we'll see.
Winning
jacket. It's always in the back. I just like to flex on people at work.
Is that from Cyberpunk?
This is my Cyberpunk coat. It's not on.
Nice.
It's only on. It looks better when it's on. Yeah. So it's the last 6 months of work to get all that going, but it's been worth it. This has been a stressful last month in particular of trying to get finished for these finals, but. We should say the competition is insanely high quality, so could go one of many ways.
Well, I was just thinking, you posted a picture of yourself in your Prince of Persia cosplay from
side to side.
So many moons ago.
6 years.
I remember that because I was I think it was one of the first times we'd met, and I was there with Gearsden, and you had your handcrafted swords, and you were like really pleased with yourself because you crafted these swords.
Yeah, I remember those swords all too well. All wood. They were MDF and clay. I think it was my first time doing wood swords, and I was so pleased with them. And now I look at them and like, there's ways I would improve that these days.
So that's
that could be said of the entire thing, though, to be honest.
Because that was it. Because like at the time, you were just like, yes, I'm so impressed with these swords. And we're like, yeah, man, they're really good. And then you post that picture up, and you're just like, how things are changed and stuff.
That's the thing, though, right? By being proud of what you've done, but when you get to the end of it and you look back and you go, this is what I'd do better now. It shows your growth. So I'm never afraid of that. Looking back and being able to say. What I thought was good at the time, but with experience and hindsight and growth and all that kind of stuff, then you realise actually it was shit. But I wouldn't do it the same these days. That's for sure.
Well, what would you change about it? What would you do?
I wouldn't do that costume anymore. I've got an extra 6 years of body consciousness behind me. The leather parts were okay. I wouldn't do them the same way by any means. All the like little metal looking things were all clay and they were brittle, and he's got straps around his arms and they kept falling down, so I hot glued them to my arms. Definitely wouldn't recommend that.
Ouch.
Yeah. So lots of things would be different, and I wouldn't definitely wouldn't use like satin for the trousers that look like pajama bottoms and like crushed velvet for the wrap. Not good choices of materials, but yeah, I thought it was the business at the time. But
well, that's it, isn't it? Like I remember, I don't cosplay, but I remember making something like my first set of foam armor and being so impressed with it and stuff, and then afterwards sort of looking back on it and kind of going, yeah, that wasn't as good as I thought it was.
I have this all to come. I have an informal agreement with a couple of friends that do cosplay that obviously without this didn't happen this year, but next year I need to try and do some Mandalorian stuff. And so that's in my near future, I suspect.
Yeah, I'm sitting on this at the moment.
Oh, 3D printed?
No, this is resin cast.
Ah, well. Okay.
So this one is made by an American maker called Geek, whose details are down the front. Geek, and he's an exceptionally good maker. And this is probably the smoothest cast I've ever held in my hands. But I've just had to order the Alumaster paint that's actually used on the show. It's like $400.
Fuck.
So
Better make sure it's good weather when you spray that shit.
yeah, definitely. I'll be in the booth. But it's all about he's been trying to do it with the actual paint as well, and he's gone through I think 6 just trying to get it right. So I'm kind of like, oh god.
So
it's
why?
gonna be a nightmare.
What's so special about the paint? Why is it so expensive?
There's one guy who makes it, so and it was used in the show, so he's like, well, I'll stick a premium on this. But it's the base coat as well. When you're painting chromes and stuff like that, you have to have a really specifically and well polished, like gloss black base coat, and if you get any imperfections in that, they're immediately noticeable.
I was looking at some of that stuff. Have you seen a guy called the Welding Geek?
Yeah.
That's been he's been welding and hammering and forming from scratch his own set of Beskar.
Same. What's one of the things I adore about cosplay is like people can attach it from such different angles, like making things completely out of steel or wood or 3D printed or whatever it is.
We've got a comment on Facebook. Antonia McFly Kelly, $400. That's commitment. Well, you don't do things by halves, Andy. I have to give you that, man. Like, there's one thing that impresses me about you the most is that when you do things properly. So when you did Oberon's sort of like cosplay, you basically. You sewed, you did leather work, you did everything, and
the pain of that. I presume everyone has seen Game of Thrones and knows the golden cloak with the pattern on it, and it was hand printing the pattern on the silk. It was a nightmare. So I cut these like lino prints. I had to hand carve these lino prints and make these things, and it came out, admittedly, I think really nicely. But yeah, and then the trim. It's just little details that you don't notice. The trim's got these like snakeskin scales all the way down them, and I had to do them all by hand with a paint pen. It took, I think, 26 hours just to do the trim. Just the same pattern, repeat. It was nightmarish.
What did you do this weekend? I drew scales with a paint pen and occasionally slept.
Yeah,
fucking hell, man! And I struggle trying to paint like 12 Space Marines and stuff in a sitting.
It's funny that over the last 4 years in particular, I've made like 4 big costumes, which were Oberon, Ragnar, Geralt, and this, and each one has taken me progressively longer. Because they all seem to have more and more like hidden details that you just bring out. When like this one's a nightmare for it. So this is my second version of it. The first version's down there on the floor. And the first version was really good, and I only made it a year ago. But now I look at it, I'm like, God, it was garbage. Like, how on earth did I qualify for the finals in that? And it's just the little changes and things. But to do this one, I did have to invest in a £1,000 sewing machine, like a massive flatbed industrial sewing machine that's especially made for doing leather, because no other machine would handle it. And to be honest, I'd be just looking for an excuse to buy one, really.
So how did this V competition come about anyway?
So CD Projekt Red ran a costume contest. They wanted to find the best cyberpunk cosplayers like out there, and I'd admit at the very start I told myself, no, there's no way, I don't want to do V, I want to make my own character, and then I made my own character, and then they announced the contest, and it was like $40,000 of prizes. I was like, maybe I'll enter. So I kind of put it together, and I got picked for the final 10, which ended up being the final 12, and then it was supposed to obviously happen just before the original launch date was with April.
Yeah. And
then obviously it got pushed back twice. And then the competition got
end November, isn't it? Yeah.
19th. Yeah, I have 10 days off. It just kept getting pushed back, and the finals kept getting pushed back, and we're here now, and it closed on Sunday last week. So I'm kind of all my footage and videos, and I made a film, like a short minute-long film, all kinds of stuff. But it ended up.
Were they prerequisites of the competition, or were they just something you chose to do?
The only prerequisite is it has to be canon from the Cyberpunk from anything that's been released so far. So art books, game trailers.
Right. So when they say canon, do they mean just the Cyberpunk 2077 canon, or
Yeah.
the extended role-playing game?
Yeah, 2077. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a marketing strategy for them, right? They get loads of people with really good costumes that they can then photograph and use for promotional material. That's what it is. I mean, a lot of these competitions are exactly that.
Yeah.
But it's an aesthetic I really like. So kind of like the opportunity to do things which are leather and 3D printing and LEDs, and got lots and lots of like props and guns, and like I've got loads of this stuff kicking about. I've got grenades and a little bunny rabbit backpack up there that just there's all this kind of weird shit from it, and it's I do like the aesthetic. Even my desk here is all like black with yellow neons all around it. It's been
one thing I really liked was like the iconic color. Light up color. How did you achieve that? Is that a combination of LED strips and?
Yeah, so there's a company called NeoPixel which do programmable LEDs.
Yeah.
So there's a battery pack that sits in the back here, and then there's a wire that runs at the back, and then there's 64 of those like programmable LEDs around the side. And the advantage of doing it this way, take this off. So I made this like little battery pack thing, which opens up, and in here you've got your LiPo, and then if you go into the lower layer, you've got like the control unit, and the control unit is the Arduino, but I also put a Bluetooth receiver in there, and I built an app that's on my phone that I can load up, and I can change the color and the brightness and everything of the collar, so that if I'm in a really dark place, I can turn the brightness down so it doesn't blow out the photographs.
I think you originally said, or I've seen maybe in one of your videos, that you had it sort of going around, you had the cabling going around sort of a part of the coat. Actually, you can kind of see it behind you, I think, isn't it?
So these here, in the original, like this jacket, it has changed a lot from the first trailer. That first 48-minute trailer is 2 years old. That's insane. Like as of a couple of days ago. So the first trailer, these wires actually connected up into the underside of the collar here, and it made it seem as if that the wiring should go through there and attach. But the problem was every time I transported it, that got pulled a little bit, and it slowly pulled the LEDs, and then it snapped. So I was like, well, instead of trying to have it that it actually functions like that, just fake it. And then a load of new trailers came out, and these had become a lot more recessed, and this bit of wire that joined up here had disappeared, so I scrapped it all together, and now it just runs straight down the back, and there's all these things in it. It's like there's hook catches in the back which stop it from being, even if the wire gets pulled, it doesn't pull on the LEDs at the back. So I've learned from my mistakes, basically.
Is the jacket something you've made yourself? So it's not an old jacket that you've repurposed. You've sewn the entire thing yourself. Yeah.
So I bought a bomber jacket which fit me basically, and then use that for the pattern. So like the front with the wires, this is all like recessed leather. So it's just drew the pattern on the bomber jacket. It was just like an eBay thing, and then used that as the basic base, and then things like figuring out the bumpers and stuff, and it just all kind of flowed from there. The collar's the nightmare piece.
Yeah, it would be
all of it. But it's nice that I was able to control all of that. So like it's all silk lined because it's really hot, really warm. So being able to put silk line in it means it's just a little bit nicer to get in and out of. So it's nice to be able to pick those things myself.
And the what was I going to say there? The electronics and the sewing and stuff, is this something that you've progressively taught yourself over time, or is it something you've done because of a job, or what?
So it's just no jobs in it. My job is, I was up until recently a programmer. I'm now a user experience researcher.
What's that? What's a user experience researcher?
I help design applications and then do feedback looping with clients in order to ensure that they're usable and they're good. So I work with the government doing counter-terrorism and cybersecurities. Just drop that in there. So nothing to do with this, but I've been going to conventions for I think 7 years now, and the first one I went to, I did an Ezio cosplay, was my first one, and I kind of So my friend had just suggested, "Oh, do you want to go to a Comic-Con?" I was like, "Yeah, definitely." And I couldn't imagine not going dressing up, but I'd never picked up a sewing machine or anything. And my partner at the time used to make like toy monsters, so she could use a sewing machine. So she showed me like the very, very basics, like a straight stitch. And then just from there, it was just deep diving YouTube and figuring things out. And then, you get to something like this, and you're trying to do 5 layers of leather and 2 layers of like a thick cotton to do the front of this, and your sewing machine's like going like nothing's going to go through it. So you're like, right. So I get onto my friend who works in the leather prop work department of Universal Studios. No, not Universal, Pinewood. Like, what do you use? She goes, Juki. Right, I could buy Juki. So now we've got this bin 170 kilogram sewn cast iron tabletop sewing machine. But yeah, it's the same with the programming. Like, I've always been fascinated about how things work and how things are made and put together, and I just think it's an extension of that, really. But a lot of it is I'm very good at trial and error and persistence when I mess up. So a lot of it is just like figuring things out and then throwing stuff away and then doing it again.
See, that's, I think, is obviously a very good trait for cosplayers. So even when I like making models, like painting models. I've dabbled in sort of like making a costume and stuff like that. But I get to a point where I make something and then I get frustrated, and I don't give up. I just sort of lose heart, and then it slows me down somewhat, I think, because I'm like, and then that makes me want to move on to something else. So I'm like, oh, this is too hard. I'll move on to something else. Eventually, I'll go back to it, but it's just like I don't have that sort of drive to keep me going through the hard times, as it were, which would seem there would be quite a few.
I tell you what, it's like computer games, right? I like the amount of time I spent on like Mirror's Edge when that came out and doing the same level like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times over just to perfect that one little bit. But then when you get to the end and you've done a perfect run through and you're like closing in on world record times, or you feel you've like really achieved something, you get that sense of achievement out of it. I always kind of chase that down with costuming stuff. It's like, it doesn't matter if it's hard, and if I have to do it 50 times over, it doesn't matter. Like the sleeves I made for this, I've done 8 iterations of them. I still don't like them, and so I haven't used them yet. And now I've figured out how to do the next iterations. But I know that when I do get it and I figure it out and I get it right, that the feeling of achievement I would get for having persisted through that makes it pay off.
Dopamine here.
See, that's it. Because like I'll spend ages doing something, and then I'll fuck something up, and then I'll just sit there and go, oh my god, my life is over. I spent like 3 weeks doing this, and the concept of having to do something over again literally makes my heart sink. So you're definitely a stronger man than I for doing something like that, and definitely 100% respect for that, because I don't know if I've got I thought I had patience until I met some cosplayers like yourself. I was like, yeah, I don't have patience.
Yeah, it's definitely something. I didn't have it for a long time, and then I kind of hit my mid-30s and I was like, let's just chill out a little bit and just keep going with some of this stuff.
But it's one of those things. It's like, and I with yourself, and it's like Svetlana, who plays who's Kamui cosplay and stuff, who they kind of show their work. I like that. I like what I'm on your Facebook page quite a lot, and just simply because I like progress. I like seeing people create things, and I like to see this sort of things. The stuff you were doing with your 3D printer, which you've got your new one there in the background, I think, isn't it? Yeah,
it's one of them. Yeah.
the 3D printers and stuff. So it's just like teaching yourself things like that, and then making. You made a pistol, made a gun, didn't you, with your 3D printer and stuff?
Yeah. So I've got 1, 2. First version of this one, which I didn't like, so this is the second version. Yeah, I got a few. Yeah. I've got the Witcher swords on the wall behind me. I don't know if you can see those.
Yeah, I saw. What was it? I remember sort of with the swords. They were like you were going to print them, and they were too big or something along those lines.
Yeah,
they were.
I modelled them what I thought was on the size from the game, and it was not. They were colossal, so I kind of just scaled them down. But those swords were literally the first thing I ever 3D modeled. And I thought, a sword would be a nice, simple thing to introduce me to. And compared to some of the stuff I do now, it is. They were pretty simple, but I think they're probably one of the things I'm the most proud of. Like you say about like work in progress. I think everybody is trying to find maybe a bit of a niche when they get into cosplay in order to try and stand out a little bit. And for me, it started to become that people were really interested in like that stuff, the behind the scenes and what works and what fails and the learning process. So that's something I've always tried to stick to. But as I move on now, I'm kind of more about trying to help and empower other people to do things that they might not be able to achieve themselves. So, for example, those Witcher swords I put on Thingiverse for a free download, and I've had several hundred people download them, but I've seen probably 50 or 60 builds of them on people who are cosplaying as Geralt. And that's really nice to know that I've empowered and helped people, create something that they might not have been able to do themselves. So those are kind of the two of the key things that I'm trying to push with my social media stuff. That and, stupidly high attention to detail, like the stitch length on the top stitching is right 7 millimeters. That's just that's stuff that only I would care about. But hopefully stuff that's going to win me $15,000. So we shall see.
Right.
If it pays off.
Well, how many people are left? Did you say it was 12?
12. Yeah. Yeah. So there's 4 people who are doing my character. A couple who are doing Royce. Then there's some one-offs. So there's a Lizzie Wizzy and a Trauma Team and a Johnny Silverhand, and like some of them are like astoundingly good. Mm-hmm. Like the Lizzie is all hand-hammered steel bodysuit. It's just ridiculous. Russians, man. The Russians, they set a high standard.
They're scary.
Yeah.
I've worked with Russians a lot over the last sort of 10 years in various technical areas, and yeah, they can be quite scary and intensive.
Yeah.
My first ever Christmas do with my Russian boss, with him stalking around the table going, "Beer or vodka?" Said, yes, and just plopped booze in front of you.
Ura tovarishchi. That's all I know. Hooray, comrades! Joys of having a Russian girlfriend.
Oh, you got a Russian girlfriend?
Well, Latvian.
Latvian.
She speaks almost exclusively Russian with her family.
Yeah.
So I'm sure she's not, but she always sounds angry when she speaks to her mum.
Oh,
I think it's just the language.
My missus is Polish, and every time I hear her upstairs, it's like, and I know words like tak and dobrze and cinque and things like that, like small things, and you'll hear them sort of going upstairs. It's like, is she shouting at her? Are they angry? And she's like, no, we're just talking normally. It's just
I was like, oh, have you had a falling out with your mum? No, she's fine. She acts how you are.
It's no different to listening to people having conversations in German. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's very sort of like, wow, and you're just like, I don't know if I should step in here or if this is just a normal conversation.
They always seem fine at the end.
What's that joke? Life is short, so tell someone you love them. But it's also full of surprises, so scream it at them in German.
What is it? There's a video. I think actually, Kamui Cosplay shared it once, but it was just basically like people sort of different sort of words for like flower and for like calculator and stuff in different languages, and they were all very nice. And then it came to the German one, there's like Taschenrechter and very harsh.
One of my I used to do a stream of a stupid game, and what I didn't realize is the noises that animals make in different languages are different.
Yes.
So for example, like in Latvian, a frog is like back. It's not like rabbits back. So we play this game where Maria makes all these noises and people have to try and guess what animal it is. And it's really funny. It is really funny.
Man, okay. What do you think a duck says in Polish?
Oh, I don't know. Mom. No, mom. I don't know.
No, I swear to God, man, it's fuck. but it's like they say it with like a qua, but but when they say it sounds like fuck, fuck, fuck. And so we were looking at ducks, and she was like, "Oh, ducks, fuck, fuck, fuck," and I was like, "What? What did you just say?"
She really hates ducks.
She's like, "Fuck, fuck, fuck," and it's like, "Is that what ducks say in Poland?" She's like, "Yeah," and apparently pigs go chrum 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 chrum.
Yeah, that's the same in Russian.
And it's just like, what a chrum, and it's just like, so I laugh so much because she's sort of saying these things like it's serious, and I'm just like, no, the pigs say oink and ducks don't say fuck, they say quack, and she's like, they say fuck.
I always enjoyed the fact about frogs. Do you know about where rabbit comes from?
No.
So there's one species of frog that actually goes ribbit ribbit, and it happens to be found in California. And the story so goes that in ye olden days, early cinema, sound engineers were asked to go and record the sound of frogs. So they went out, and the first frogs recorded for cinema were in California, and they went ribbit ribbit, and that's it suddenly stuck.
Wow, that's awesome.
Makes sense.
Every day, new day, school day, brilliant. Yeah.
Illumination.
All right. Builds wise, would you say that this most recent one, the Cyberpunk one's the hardest one you've done, or
it's probably the widest range of skills. I think Ragnar drove me the most insane with all that leather weaving, and that one took me. This one's taken me about 400 hours. Ragnar took me, closer to 1,000. So that one I think is. They have different kind of skills. This one was difficult because it needed to be incredibly precise with quite tricky materials, and things like the collar, and actually having the collar not move and fit, and all that stuff's quite hard. And the thing, like, it's got this thing on the back shoulder which is called a jammer, and that's ridiculously hard to model and get right. But I think each one has its own set of challenges. I'm definitely finding easier ways to solve things than I would have done maybe 3 years ago. 3D printing I utilize a lot now, whether it's props or accessories. Like, there's all these little tiny details on here which are all 3D printed, and like the zip is all 3D printed, and then metal cast. It's all cold cast aluminium. And there's just stuff I couldn't have done without a 3D printer. So it's a wider range of skills, and I think each one that I do adds a new element of difficulty in a different way. So yeah, it's definitely up there in one of the top 2 or 3 of difficulty. Fortunately, the next thing I'm doing is going to be easy. It's just sewing.
What's the next thing?
I'm doing Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, okay.
So the difficult bit is I'm going to make an authentic old style method straw hat. So I'm going to basically do it in the same way that it was done in historical feudal Japan. And that's going to be the hard bit, unquestionably. But then I'm just doing the Ronin kind of kit. So it's just big kimono, 6.5 yards of fabric on the lower body, and it's just going to take a lot of sewing. But it's going to be easy, and it's going to be light and flowing. Partially because I want to make that, and I've started the swords. So I've used a couple of like training bokken, because they're the right size for katanas, and they come with scabbards, which is a difficult bit. But also because hopefully next year we're going to go to Japan, and I'm going to take this and that.
They're going to love it. They're going to love it.
There'll just be insane photo shoots.
Yeah.
They'll go nuts for it. I've got a couple of mates that live over that way that moved out there. One of them couldn't be bothered to wait until he got his Japanese well enough, so he moved over there, and he worked as a English teacher for 3 years until his conversational and professional Japanese was good enough to go back to being a developer, because he's a .NET developer. So I think that he definitely appreciates being a developer again now after 3 years as an English teacher, even in Japanese schools, which of course are very effective and stuff like and very efficient. But I think, definitely.
And like Japan's not one of those places where like people, they're very, their language is their language. It's not one of these places where they learn English because everybody speaks English. It's like, no, it's Japanese, or you've got to make the effort. And I remember Gearston telling me, this is Gearston, Bolton, born and bred, doesn't know a word of Japanese, goes over there with his missus, and it's absolutely the stories he's telling, man. It's just hilarious because he's literally just doing what sort of like you would expect a man from Bolton to, just speaking louder and more northern, just hoping they'll understand them.
The place I would really like to take this is some parts of Seoul. Like it's just, the aesthetic is just unbelievable.
I was in South Korea for my mate's wedding. It's been a few 3 years ago and stuff, and it's an awesome place. Smells slightly bad, unfortunately. Their sort of sewer system isn't as deep as ours, so when it's a hot day, you can smell shit everywhere. But it's they have some amazing places, like, and there's their TVs are so cheap. You can get like a TV the size of your wall for effectively the same for the same price as I bought that TV. I was just like, I need to figure out a way to get one of these home.
Yeah, I would say that would be my first port of call, to try and bring a massive ass TV home.
I was speaking to Mike Pondsmith a couple of months ago about Cyberpunk, and he was created the role playing game, and he described the aesthetic of Cyberpunk being San Francisco after a rainstorm at midnight, and basically walking out of a bar and going, now what now? Because that's very specific kind of neon-esque reflection.
Yeah, totally. I was chatting to him on Reddit. I'm a big lover of how much he's vocal on the various Cyberpunk like forums and subs on Reddit, and it was quite funny. I'd put a picture of this up, and someone was like, "That color is stupid and impractical. No one would ever design this with any thought." And he pops up, he's like, "Well, when I designed this color," and then he's like, "It was supposed to be initially like a electromagnetic field used to stop bullets around the head." And that was the original idea for it. And then someone else basically said, well, we've got all these people with like augmented cybernetic things in their head, so maybe a giant electromagnet next to your head wouldn't be a great idea. But they'd already put the cover to print by that point, so it never got changed.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think out of all the various kind of images that have been released for Cyberpunk 2077, that colour is the one that kind of stands out the most. Even like the mantis blades and what have you. No, that's just that colour.
Yeah.
It's just
it's kind of why I wanted to make the changeable colours on the light, because they've changed this jacket so many times. I don't trust that the game's going to get released and it's still going to be the same. So there's little changes that you wouldn't notice, like the badge has changed twice, the crystal jack thing's changed twice, the colour of the collar's changed, and the patch on the arm here has changed. So like instead of just putting the patch on, I made it all like tear away with Velcro, so I can change them up. Because I don't trust that.
You're not just going to stitch another one.
Yeah, exactly. Just make another jacket. I might actually make another one. Is
there any part of it that is like to your average Joe sort of person, they're not going to notice, but there's something that you're sort of you spent a lot of time on, and it's just let small detail?
There's a couple. Inside the lining, you won't be able to see this, but there's a pocket here, and there's two pockets. And this material here, you can't buy anywhere. So I made this material myself. And it's basically using a method called ice dyeing, where what you do is you put your material out, and it was like a piece of white corduroy. And then you cover it in ice, and then you sprinkle like powdered dye all over it, and as the ice dyes and it all merges together and creates interesting patterns and colors and stuff, and then when it dries, obviously you've got a completely unique, semi-controllable but like kind of interesting looking pattern. And I made this material ages ago, and I bought some really nice yellow leather, and I was going to make it as a lining of a bag, and I thought, wouldn't it be really cool just to have these like little welt pockets used that little bit of material, so you get this little tiny detail there. But yeah, there's some bits like that are just my own little touch, and the necklace is my own. It's just a silver thing, but it's got it's got this design which I put on it, which is basically it's AV. It's my own little bit of me.
So how long do we have to wait before there's sort of are the prizes for second and third, etc.? Or
yeah, so top 3 are 15, 10, and 5,000. Plus contracts with CDPR to do promo stuff, magazine shoot cover. I don't know which magazine for. Special edition bundles, and box sets and goodie bags and all that kind of stuff. I expect that due to it being pushed, and we were all supposed to go to Poland, and it was supposed to be a live finals in Warsaw in their studios. Obviously, none of that's happened now, so I've got a feeling that they'll goodie baggers and probably give us copies of the game or something. I don't know. Regardless, right. But so. I can't say a lot, but all I can say is that it's being streamed second half of September, the finals, and then again at a later time at the thing go.
Do you think you've got a good chance?
It's hard to say. It really depends on what the judging criteria is. I believe I'm up there. I'm quietly confident in what I've done, and win, lose, draw, whatever happens, I'm incredibly proud of what I've managed to do. A lot of the contestants have used teams of people of 2 or more, and it was completely within the rules. And I've produced as much stuff, if not more, than some of teams of 3. So I'm very proud of what I've done, and I think there'll be good stuff that comes out of it, no matter what happens.
Are there any other UK cosplayers involved, or is it just you?
No, just me.
Oh, wow.
Oh, right. Okay. So, right.
Pride. Pride.
You got to do this, man. We need this shit. We need it right now. We need a win.
Do you find the thing, though, where I hear from other people that do crafting, that when you're looking at other people's work and then compare it to your own, you look at yours and you only see the stuff that you wish you'd done that a little bit better, because you pick out things that they've done. You're like, well, crap, if I'd realised that next time around, I'll have to do that. And why do they focus on that?
So I believe, of all the people who've done V, I think I've done the jacket the best, personally. I see other people's and I go, oh, I don't think that bit's quite right. I've spent probably 60% of the time I spent on this was R&D, and because of my job, and I'm very used to doing lots and lots of research. So I was very well prepared going in, and I think I'm the only one who used real leather, just these little choices. But some of the others have gone they've got full working mantis blades, and they've got laser katanas, and they've got all these extra bits, and it's kind of what's going to balance? Is a better jacket better, or is all the extra stuff better? And then how do you compare that to a fully smithed suit of armor versus a full trauma team thing versus a thing that's pretty much head to toe prosthetics? How do you judge those against each other? I don't envy the judges in this. They've got a hell of a challenge to pick out the winner, but I say, I've done all I can.
They'd have to have some sort of criteria, because if it was just wow factor, you're going to get stuck, because there's going to be so many good ones that are there. You're just going to go, I can't decide. So they're literally going to have to go down to, does it hit this? Does it hit this? Does it hit this? Does it hit this? And go that, do it methodically, effectively.
Also, there's factors I doubt they'll put 2 of the same character in the top 3. Doubtful, because if they're going to, it's marketing at the end of the day, like we say, right? So if they're going to pick 3 characters who are going to appear together in a magazine, then they're going to want to have a range of characters, maybe a V, somebody else, and a bad guy or a side character, or I don't know. There's all these factors that in my head go, well, that would make sense that they would pick a range of people, or they wouldn't put 3 of the same characters in the top 3. So perhaps those are factors, or maybe I'm just overanalyzing it and overthinking it, but I think some of those things will have to.
Would a photo shoot go ahead right now, given the pandemic?
I've managed to film a film in London a month ago with considerations for social distancing and all that kind of stuff. You know, a photographer doesn't need to be pretty near you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, I guess.
I mean, obviously there's some flexibility there. You said they've gone from 10 to 12 finalists, so it might be they literally come down to the whole. Well, screw it. Let's just take half of you, just the three off.
Yeah, maybe. You know, part of me's glad it's done because it's been a long year of doing stuff and then constantly checking on all the other competitors' fucking Instagrams every day, being like, what are they doing? I'm just driving myself a bit mad about it. And then in the last couple of months, I've just been like, stop doing this. You're just driving yourself crazy. Just concentrate on doing the best job that you can do, and then just take the pride in that. And that's how I.
How
switched.
did you research these style and suit? I mean, because like you are in some ways kind of bound by what they're putting out. I mean, how did you kind of really dig deep into these jackets, for example?
So I have a clipped bit of footage of every single piece of video that he appears in. Right. And I have a Google Drive folder with probably, I don't know, close to 1,000 screenshots. And just some of them are like, there's one bit where he's driving in a car and you see it over the shoulder, but it's the only time you see a close-up of the pocket on the shoulder. And it's just like, I know I'm looking for a certain thing often. So I'm kind of like, okay, I want to see that bit of the pocket, or I want to see just the inside front edge of the collar. And so I just scour until I found that piece. The problem ended up being that the design changed like 3 times.
Yeah.
So I would do something, and then so the version 1 jacket and the version 2 are different because the things changed, and even the official cosplay guide is horrifically wrong. There's like rendering issues in it, and there's a montage of 2 different designs, which you can only tell because you can see the fraction of the patch on the arm in a back photo, and it's an old patch, so it's like they've montaged 2 together, and just stuff you would never ever know. So I basically tried to use the most latest trailers, basically that's why a lot of this got redone in the last kind of 3 months, is that I waited for a lot more material to start coming out and then really dug into it. So it's little things like these little things on the front went from black to silver, and just stupid little details. But yeah, lots of time scouring through everything that I could get my hands on, more than anything.
Oh, best of luck, man. I really, really, really do hope you at least get top 3. Fingers crossed you'll win, man. But you know, top 3. You deserve it. You know, the amount of effort. You know. I
mean, we all do. I mean, I've put hundreds of hours into this thing, but then you talk to the other people, and like for the last 4 weeks, all of us have been just sweating at the bone. Just the amount of time we've been putting into it. So I think everyone kind of deserves some praise for what they've done.
So you won't feel hard done by if you don't get in the top 3, because it is quite high caliber stuff.
It's easily the highest caliber competition I've been in, easily. Yeah. But you know, like I say, we've got good stuff coming out of it. I've seen some of the videos and that other people have been producing, and they're really cool. Yeah, it's going to be exciting though. So I'm just hoping they tell us before the stream where they actually reveal it, because I'm going to be streaming myself watching it. So I would like to know before I go into that what the outcome is, because otherwise it's like Oscar claps. Yes, well done.
Oh, my sister's written a message on Facebook. Anna Kitty, my sister's art. If you're looking for some awesome art, Anna Kitty. But what's Andy's favorite part of the whole process?
Finishing. Yeah, seriously. Like I remember when I finished the last bit. What was the last bit? I think. Oh, it was the stitching. So the last bit is applying the lining, and it was just like hands stem sewing the lining up at the collar. And I did it, and I like ruffled it out, and then put it on the mannequin, turned it on. I was like, just fucking turn on. It was all fine, and I just stood back and was like, yeah, I'm done.
And then it flickers.
Yeah. Oh God. Like every single time I go and do shoots now. So I've got the reason. The first collar was so problematic that like I was at a convention in Madrid and I was wearing it, and like the second day it all just stopped, and I was like, oh God's sake. So I built so much robustness into it. So there's using, instead of just having it wired end to end, I've got all these kind of like clips throughout it. So it's got lots of fail safe points. So if it does go, at least I can test in like 3 spots to see whereabouts in the line it's failed. But I've got 2 of these, one that runs off LiPros, one that runs off standard USB battery packs. I've got one that's got the Bluetooth in for the color control, just for coolness, and all the rest don't. So I've kind of got all these reserves now. So if anything starts to like flicker or one of the wires starts to go, I can just swap it out into a new one. Nice. Yeah, learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, man. Nice. I was going to ask something else there, and I got distracted by my sister's smiley faces on the thing. So you've got what's your next convention? Well, I suppose there's no conventions going up at the minute, really, is there? With everything sort of going off, you can't really.
Absolutely no idea.
Nowhere, is there?
It was supposed to be Dragon Con right now, and I'm like really saddened that I'm not there because it would have been my 4th year.
How good is Dragon Con? Because I've never been, but everybody who seems to go, just it's like if they can't go, it's like they've lost a child or something. They're that upset about it.
If it was. Like I see people who are like, oh, like I'm tired of the UK cosplay scene, but I still go to like 6 cons, and I'm like, if you didn't go to those 6 cons, you could afford to go to Dragon Con, and it is amazing. Like it is it's another world, and for lots of different reasons. Like it's 80,000 people at any one time, but because it's in hotels as opposed to convention centers, they don't close. So my day starts at about 5 in the afternoon. When I get up, and then we start drinking at about 6, and then that goes through till about 8 a.m. and it's just rinse and repeat, and it's just a ridiculous group of people. Like I've had people come up to me and like, oh, you're that guy from that thing or whatever. Or, yeah. It goes, cool. I'm going to a room party. Do you want to come? Okay. And like. It's just surreal. So I went to one room party. You knock and some big dude opens the door, and this is just a hotel room, and they've got all the beds up against the wall, and they've built a bar at the back with like 400 super ridiculously expensive luxury whiskeys and stuff. It's like, oh, you can choose one of whatever you want, and it's like a party you can only go to if you get invited there by somebody else who's been there. It's surreal. I remember walking around at like 4 o'clock in the morning drunk. I'm like, it's Bill Duran. And fortunately he knows me. And he's like, yeah, we're going to this thing. I was like, yeah, I'll come. Or like 3 a.m. Catan tournaments and just ridiculous stuff. But it's so good. And it's obviously it's 8 days long almost now.
Is it hard? Is it hard to sort of get tickets and stuff for it, or is it?
It's hard to get
Hotels?
rooms in the hotel. Yeah. So you really want to be in one of the 5 host hotels, ideally. I mean, they're for some people they're a bit prohibitively expensive. For the week, you're looking like 2,500.
Fuck.
But it's worth every moment of it. So we usually get we've been really lucky and got 2nd floor rooms like every year. So you step out and you open the door and you step out on the balcony, and it's just people just right in front of you, hundreds and hundreds of people, and it's insane. You just go from sleep-in air-conditioned room to mayhem in like the blink of an eye, and it's great.
And there's a specific are the hotels quite close to each other and stuff, or
they're all joined by air bridges, so you kind of don't even have to go outside.
All right, because like going to San Diego Comic-Con was a big thing for me because San Diego Comic-Con, and that was kind of I was stressing about how big it was going to be, but for some reason like Dragon Con seems like more intimidating for some reason. I don't know. It's like
It's a different kind of crowd. I think SDCC is more of like the geek crowd. It's the people wanting to see the exclusive trailers and get merch they can't get anywhere else. Where Dragon Con's a party crowd, unquestionably. It's like go to weird raves and like just hang out with people. Everyone from the humans through to the convention guests, through the celebrities, everything. They're so chill. Like everyone's super cool. I think
Sounds more like a festival rather than an actual convention.
It's like the Burning Man of Comic-Con.
Cool.
It really is, which is ironic because they're on the same week.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Like next year I'm doing Burning Man. Dragon Con again. And for my 40th in 2022, I'm going to go to Burning Man.
Oh, definitely. When you go to Burning Man, go there for the full week. Don't just go for the weekend.
Yeah, I've started saving the pennies because I know it's going to be ridiculous, but.
Basically, the hardest part of going to Burning Man is just getting a ticket there.
Yeah.
You got the sellout in less than an hour last year. So yeah.
I'm going with a friend who's in a 42-piece drum and bass orchestra. Of all things. So they play over there a drum and bass. He plays the violin in the drum and bass orchestra. Yeah, as you do. But yeah, it's one of those conventions that I definitely would always recommend people go to, and it's one of those ones that you meet so many cool people, you just like, I just want to go again. And it's now.
Sorry, man, you carry on.
Sorry, I was just saying, it's just now I've got my like American squad, I've got and I adore those people, and it's like the only time I get to see them, so it's like it's coming home. And when I go over there, I become instantly significantly more British. Like it really, really turn it on. It's like, or am I pregnant? It just suddenly comes out, and yeah.
Did you go like on your own, as in the first time you went? What like for me, if I was ever wanting to go, did you how did you get the hotel booked in time? Did you go on your own? Did you know anybody?
No, so first time I went, every time I've been with my partner, but it's like a 15-20 person UK group of people who are pretty well known, like Nick's the Sonophone, Rage, all those, like that group of humans. So there was always a lot of people there who I knew who went over from the UK scene, and we've always kind of gone as a little bit of a group. But it's totally a thing you could do by yourself. I'm a social butterfly, right? So we land, and then my partner sees me like 4 days later. And it's just I just go, and if you've got no problem just talking to people and just chilling out with people, then it's really good. I remember I saw a friend and she was like, right, I've got a friend who you've never met and you'll absolutely love him, let me go get him. And they get him, and this person, I was like, instantly like got on like a house on fire, and that was it. I just chilled with them for 3 days. It was stupid, but it's really good.
Sneaky Zebra, Nick and/or Gary put on Twitch. Let's not forget your SDCC open bar. Oh man, that was messy. We got invited to the what is it? Black Dot. What's their? You're gonna have to remind me what it was, Sneaky Zebra guys. But basically, we got invited to an open bar, basically one of the parties, and oh man, yeah, that's it. 3 Black Dot, that's it. Yeah, it was messy. And it's Gary. Yeah,
bar and end well.
Yeah, well, man, seriously, it was just like, the thing is, I think we were winding each other up as well. So like, basically, we're going up and going 2 vodkas, double vodkas, and like Gary was sort of like, and it's always this thing, the guy can fucking drink, man. The guy, Gary can drink, and it's just like every time I try and test Gary and how much. Me being an Irishman, I should be able to drink, but man, the guy just has me every single time, and it's just like, that was I've never felt so, so drunk in my entire life, like than that party, which was amazing. Like, they didn't have to invite us. That's right, Gary's got Irish heritage as well. But they didn't have to invite us, and they did, and it was amazing. It was just such a good night. Just the whole thing, just like, absolutely, we met so many insane people, and I think at the end of the night, I was chatting up some barmaid because she was going to Vegas, and I was like, I'm going to Vegas. We should totally meet up in Vegas.
I got in Vegas.
And it was just like, oh man, and it's just it was hilarious, so good. Going to conventions in America. I like MCM, and I've met like yourself and the Sneaky Zebra guys and Julieta and Tabitha and all the amazing cosplayers and people who I've met at these conventions and stuff. But like America, SDCC, which is my only sort of reference point, is completely different level. It's like it's nothing you will ever sort of experience in your entire life.
I had a theory about that, and it was that because of the size difference between the two countries, people have to make things that are such on a significantly higher level in order to stand out. Because you go to MCM and the cosplay is like relatively fine, but there's maybe 3 or 4 people each day that have made something that is truly like that you see and you're like, it's just so good. But you go to the America and you've got like 50, 60, 70,000 people instead of 1,000, 2,000 people. And in order to stand out in a crowd of that many people, you have to make mind-blowing things. And so everybody really tries to up the level in order to do that. And that's just my theory. But you do see a lot of incredibly good things over there.
Yeah, I feel like I want to simply because my father had a training contract in Atlanta, which it's in Atlanta, isn't it? Dragon Con, Atlanta, Georgia. When he was an architect, and I have always kind of wanted to go, just to sort of because he went and I would like to go, and I was like, I'm going to go to this one day, but then part of me is just like, I don't know if I'm not organized enough to get myself to sort of book in advance to get the hotel room and then get everything sort of sorted. And I was like, I'll do it for my 40th birthday, and then it's like I can't do it for my 40th birthday, and I'm going to do it though. I'm definitely going to do it. So if you get a message from me at some point in time, I think it's going to be like, let's do this. Show me what I have to do.
The Dragon Con is weird in a way as well, because you're not just thinking about, does my costume look awesome? You're thinking about, can I get absolutely rat-arsed whilst wearing this and not break it? So there's a second level of consideration. And like, is it comfortable? Like, am I going to be able to go to a rave or, like walk down a corridor and some guy with a wizard's hat on drags you off to the side and suddenly you're playing a one-shot? Just like all kinds of dumb stuff that happens. And you've got to be prepared for it all.
It sounds a lot like Sci-Fi Weekender.
I couldn't say. Right.
Okay, I've been to Sci-Fi Week a couple of times, and it's basically a science fiction festival.
Okay.
And basically they've got like loads of like stuff going on around the site, and it's not a convention. It is just basically a bunch of sci-fi geeks having one big ass party all weekend.
Is that the one that comes down to Southampton?
Pardon?
Is that the one in Southampton?
No, this is
That's
the one.
Sci-Fi Ball, isn't it?
Yeah, this is originally in Fwelly, then moved to Great Yarmouth last year.
Great Yarmouth, wow.
Great Yarmouth. I wonder if she's got a spare room I can borrow sometime.
Great Yarmouth. I was there a few years back. My ex's dad's in Great Yarmouth. It's like an interesting place. I was gonna say, the one big thing I like about conventions, and one of the reasons I sort of MCM especially was. It wasn't the drinking, it was just the social aspect of it all. It was sort of being able to sort of like, when I MCMs and stuff, I book a room and then I just get bladdered and I just meet loads of random people and stuff, and I love that. I just love meeting random people and stuff, and having random people coming back to your place and doing stuff, and it's just that is it's not the drinking. I'm not going to hit the Irish stereotype of being a massive drinker, but it's just letting your hair down and having such a good time with like people you don't know and meeting new people and stuff, and it's just like. Yeah, that's what it is for me. I think.
Yeah, totally agree. I love the social bit.
The social
part.
part.
I get a really positive idea of how it all works, because I did Ludo Sport for about a year, so I know a couple of people that do cosplay from that who started doing it, but they decided they'd rather it was a bit serious for them and their cosplaying. But one of my good friends dropped off the wargaming thing, started doing cosplaying, and met his now wife. And last year, so actually just over a year ago now, when I went to his wedding, that was quite amusing. It was a church wedding, little village. So the deal was they couldn't come in cosplay. So everyone turned up looking vaguely civilized, and then everyone retires to the local village hall, and suddenly you've got like stormtroopers wandering around and Starfleet crewmen and stuff like that. It took like 10 minutes, and you've gone from all these people in their nice dresses and suits, and everyone's stomping around, and they look so much more comfortable. And so a few of them have kind of stayed on my friends list, and we chat away about random stuff. And they're just so relaxed about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, hey, you seem pretty cool. You're a decent human.
If I had enough money, man, if I had enough money and enough time, I'd do them all the time. Like I do all the main ones. I'd love to go to what's it called? What's the one in Washington? Katsucon, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
it's Katsucon. One of the first ever cosplay music videos I ever saw was a Katsucon one.
Is it not Emerald City? No.
Is it Emerald City?
Emerald City.
Is it? Yes, it is. It is. Or is it the? What is it? The Gaylord Center or something? Is there something like that? I know it's it's right, but that's I think one of them's called that, but it's something like that. But yeah, if I could, like I haven't done a convention in a very long time. I go to sort of some of the wargaming ones simply because I like spending money on toy soldiers, and that's sort of
No, you're right. It's Katsucon at the Gaylord National Resort.
Yeah, there you go.
Americans.
Yeah, and I'd love to go back and the whole Dragon Con thing, because I see like Gary and yourself and Blood Spider, they all talk about it and they show photographs, and I was just like, I've got to do this. And that iconic sort of Marriott carpet that you've got as your picture in the background of your picture.
Yeah. That stuff is infamous. That carpet, yeah, it's not there though anymore, which is a shame. But nothing can prepare you for Dragon Con. It's just one of those things you just have to step into. It's like getting into the riptide of a beach. You just got to step into it, and it'll just you're away. I think everybody leaves it with way more stories and just stuff that they didn't expect. I've got loads. Personal favourite being, I was at a rave, and it was the year I was doing all the Rowdy 3 stuff from Dirt Gently. And so I've got like a blonde, white hair mohawk, big beard, and then someone goes to me, there's a guy behind you who's cosplaying the same guy as you. And I turn around, it's the actor, it's Michael Eklund. And I was like, I'll be back. So I go knock him on the shoulder. He turns around. He looks me up and down, like looking like him. I've got all the same piercings, and I'm wearing the same rings and everything that he wears in character. I was like, well, I wasn't in the full cosplay. I was just in like my style and his character style are pretty similar. I just incorporated. Like I was like, I was doing this all day, and I showed him the picture, and he was like, oh my god, that's so amazing. Do you want to get out of here? We'll go to the VIP bar and just like chat. So he just took me to like the celebrity bar. And we just like sat down, and he's like, oh yeah, I've got to go back to Canada tomorrow, but come down to my booth and I'll wait around for you. He goes, don't give this to anyone, but here's my phone number. Just give me a call later on. I'm like, all right, okay. And then so we went and he signed my little squeaky toy, and like we got some photos together at his booth, and he just waited around for me, and then he buggered off. And it was just insane, like loads of little stuff like that, just not expected at all. But
you're that sort of guy. You can just go and like I remember you coming to my house to go to Pride.
I was drunk, mate.
Yeah,
I was drunk,
and you just literally just took yourself off into Manchester on your own, and you just sort of did your thing. And I was like, well, man, I don't think I could have done that.
Yeah, I was going through a messy divorce at the time, so I was kind of like, any excuse that can be not to be at home was a good one, and I was like, well, I live in Bristol. Let's just bugger off to Manchester for the weekend to get Pride by myself. Yeah,
What
weird.
a wild weekend for you,
Right,
not for
it was.
me. I don't
It
even
was,
know.
yeah.
I can't even remember what I was doing that weekend, but it wasn't anything interesting like you. I just made you bacon buddies and then listened to your stories. I think that was
I remember your cat attacking me.
Yeah.
God, yeah, I'd completely forgotten about that. That must have been, what, 2013? 14?
Yeah.
13?
Was it 13?
Yeah.
No, can't be
13.
because... Was it 13? Fucking
Yeah.
hell. Was it that long ago?
Yeah, because that's the year the badness happened. Or it might have been 14.
Because I'm trying to think, because I with my old house, probably was around 2014, something like that, 13, 14. Wow,
Yeah.
Time flies, man. Time flies.
Yeah, it was oh God, what are they called? Liberty X and All Saints. Oh, they were the highlights.
Okay.
It was good.
Oh man, yeah, wow, amazing, absolutely amazing. Wow, we've been talking about cosplay for an hour. That's awesome. I thought we were going to have to move on. Yeah. I thought we were going to have to move on to something else, but yeah.
Military history and politics, I suppose.
Yes, yeah, it's true. But I like stuff.
One thing I actually just saw on the BBC feed about an hour ago, that there was this gentleman in Japan that took his child to school for the first time in 6 months, whilst dressed as Bumblebee. Now, what I found particularly interesting about the story was that they never once used the word cosplay.
What?
They used costumed and dressed, but they never said cosplay at any point in the entire article or the video.
Oh, right, okay. All right.
Which I found really odd. And the idea,
serious journalists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Integrity.
And that's the thing. I mean, cosplay is a ubiquitous part of our society now. It's everywhere. People know it. Even though some people don't do it, they do recognize the term. So to leave it out just felt somewhat incongruous.
Wow, these are some big words using a podcast, man. I'm gonna have to get the dictionary out.
Sorry.
You can't half tell Pete writes for the BBC, like using words like incongruous and what was the other one? What did you use?
Ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous. Wow. I don't think I've ever used the word ubiquitous before, ever. And I like to think I've got quite a high, extensive vocabulary. But yeah, I don't think
there's a joke in my household that my wife says, like, if ever I want to if I've ever been held at gunpoint at the end of a phone, and I want to kind of tell her something, like communicate that I know in danger, I just say single syllable words. So I said indeed or naturally, it's yes.
Monosyllabic distress.
Exactly. So yeah, no, I just found that the omission of cosplay from an article about cosplay just felt really odd.
Although there's still like a lingering stigma, I think, and it's it is like most cosplayers don't take on the play part of it, do they? They do the cost bit. I like personally, I always try to do the character as much as I can, and sometimes that's even more fun than the costuming stuff. I did Vars from Far Cry 3, and it's like obviously this maniac with this mohawk, and I took a load of like bondage rope with me because it's soft, and I would use it, and I'd just be like, "You want to get that goddamn floor? Get on the goddamn floor!" and kick people down and like tie them up, and just it made people remember me, I tell you. But it was so much
method
fun.
acting.
But yeah, exactly. But there's still, like I say, I think a little bit of a stigma that maybe some people feel it's a bit of a like weird word. Like I used to use cosplay in all my branding, and I don't anymore. I use costume. Predominantly because I started doing LARP kit and just non-cosplay stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Couldn't say.
Okay. No, actually, really interesting point as well about the play aspect of cosplay. I mean, do you find your attitude and demeanor change depending on which character you're playing?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Like when I did Viking stuff. Oh my god. I've got Dragon Con stories that are so funny. The Viking stuff, yeah. As soon as I've got in, I grew my hair to about where it is now. It's about 10 inches long, but it's tied up. And then I had like 28-inch extensions in. So I had this like long Ragnar ponytail thing. And as soon as that went on, I was in the army. It was just like in Viking mode. Got the shield, got the sword, the axe, like banging it on the shield. Just completely switched into character. But the brilliant bit about that Dragon Con again was we did a Viking group, and there was 46 of us. And so I was the only Ragnar. So I led the charge. And oh god, I can't believe I'm going to tell the story. So there's one bit we'd met and we'd done all our photo shoots, and we're kind of going down to the main convention floor, and we are on the balcony that overlooks the floor, and we're all like banging the shields and shouting, and there's people with war horns and like, and you could see people looking up, going, "Oh, they're not coming down here, are they?" And then so we make our way down the stairwell, and I kick this door open, and then I like blast out this door, and I've got all these like Lagathas behind me, and the Shield Maidens, and all these other like Viking people, and we were just intimidating people, and it was like, and people obviously get it, and they know what they're doing. It's just, you know, playing, but I would go really, really close to people and like put my nose right by their face and just be like, "Hey, are you having a good time?" And they'd be like, yeah. I was like, good. And then I just go boop on their nose and walk away, and it would really disarm people, because they're like all these threatening people, then this British guy going, "Hi, are you having a good time?" Like really close. But there was one girl in particular who I went really close to her, and I was like, "Are you having a good time?" She went, "Oh my god, are you British?"
Yeah.
It's like, yes. And she's like, "Oh, my vagina." And I just always thought, she completely disarmed me. I had no idea how to take it. I was like, "Can I give you a kiss?" I was like, "Okay." Threw a little pack and walked off. I was like, just grinning. It was just so funny. But yeah, totally try and get into the characters and just play with it a bit. But
does your missus, does she make the costumes herself, or do you help her? Or
yeah. So she makes all of her stuff. She's currently working on some Critical Role. She's making Yasha as we speak. But yeah, it's something we initially tried to do together as much as possible, but it's kind of our fandoms and artistic styles have diverged a little bit. So we're kind of not doing that as much. But she's working on some Cyberpunk stuff to join me, and I've kind of pulled her into the near future dystopia aesthetic, and she's really getting into that. So she's done like Marietta from Blade Runner, the new one, the purple fur coat, and she's just done Judy, the brain dancer from with the purple and green hair and all the tattoos. So she's done that from Cyberpunk. So we can do like photo shoots and stuff like that as well together. But yeah, so we're trying to like learn off each other and as much as we can.
Do you think that sort of helps your relationship in that you both have your sort of time to do your things separately?
Yeah. I mean, I need time a lot of the time in order to just mentally disconnect from the world, and I find being able to do stuff by myself allows me to do that. I use costuming as very much as a form of meditation, because if I'm concentrating on something not necessarily simple, but something that's requiring all of my brain, everything shuts off, and I can just like chill out about it. So in our room, we've got 2 craft rooms, so I'm in one of them, and then we've got another one, which is so like this was originally like the dirty room. So this is where things like resin casting and, you know, plastering of arms and mold making and all that kind of stuff happen in here. And then the other one's all sewing machines and sofas and pot plants, and it's all very Instagram aesthetic. But yeah, so we kind of have our own space to get on with our own things, and I think that helps. And it is nice when you're able to have the output as part of a team as well. And, you know, if you're walking around a convention together and people want photos because you look cool together, I think that's quite cool. But man, it does add layers of stress as well. The amount of times we've been like, "No, you should do it this way," and she's like, "No, I want to do it this way." I'm like, "I'm right. You'll regret it." And, Yeah.
That's actually like, because obviously my missus she's into like fashion, and she's sort of like she's like an Instagram what do they call Instagram influencer, yeah. So she's she gets lots of sort of free things from companies, and she takes photographs, and generally I have to take the photographs and stuff for her and things, and and that's her thing. But we don't sort of have she's not a nerd in any way, shape or form, so it's just like one of those things when I see people like yourself who's got a girlfriend who's into the same things, it's like, is that better than me who's got somebody, we've got two different sort of things, and
Yeah.
I mean, my ex-wife divorced me, and I'm probably one of the only people who has cosplay written on their reasons for divorce. So take of that what you will. And then so Maria, I met at a convention, so it was at the Fox of all places.
The Fox.
Standard, sat outside on the benches.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I did love that place. My friend Rachel, you probably have met, you'd probably recognize her if you saw her and stuff, but every time I came to London for convention, I'd like, I'm in London, and she's like, are you at a convention? I was like, yeah, and she's like, you going to the Fox? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, can we not go somewhere else? And I was like, come on, everybody goes to the Fox, you gotta go to the Fox. And she'd end up coming and just loving it and stuff, even though she's not into that sort of thing. She'd just come and people watch and end up with random people's hats on and stuff like that, and that was.
I find it really funny how over the last few years, like the cool crowd, as we probably call ourselves but aren't, have like slowly been moving locations. Like it's the Fox, and then it's the Novotel, and now it's like moving somewhere else as things change, the crowds change, and we all get older and collectively more pissed off at the increasingly young crowd. So
coming in on our territory. Yeah.
Well, it's when you get like idiots who think it's a good idea to start fight clubs on the grass, and you're just like, oh, God's sake.
Oh dear.
Don't be that person.
No, man. Yeah.
Oh
well. Wow. Right. Well. We've had a good conversation here. Before we go, I was going to say, has anybody watched the new series of The Boys yet?
Not yet. That's on my to-do for the week. I didn't watch
It's only 3 episodes. You have to wait a week, so it's not like in the last season you could watch them all. You have to watch them week on week, which annoys me. I'm so used to binging now that when somebody forces me to wait a week for a new episode, I begrudge it. Just like
they did that with Into the Badlands.
Yeah, I've just been binging Cobra Kai.
Oh man, I saw the first sort of couple of episodes on YouTube, and then I was like, I'm not paying for this. I'm enjoying
nostalgia.
it. Yeah. So I think I'll give that a whirl. Problem is, again, I've had to slowly ease my girlfriend into these new things and stuff. Like she'd not seen The Boys, so I was like, "Oh, we'll watch The Boys." And for the first season,
that's easing her in.
That's quite a brutal onslaught.
Yeah. Like she's like, "What is this?" She's like, she jumps really easily. She gets very sort of like startled by things. Like she doesn't like horror films because they freak her out. And she screams.
I will show The Boys then. Oh, great.
But it's brilliant, man, because
Matt, what isn't easing her in? That's what I want to know. That's if The Boys is easing her in, what isn't?
Well, no, because we did things like like Big Bang Theory and stuff like that. It's like, watching things like this, and then some of the superhero films. But then I was like, I'm trying to get her to watch some of them, but then I'm like, but you don't understand what's going on in this one, so you need to watch this one. Oh, but you won't understand what's happening in this one because you need to watch this one. And then I'm sort of like, well, have you seen this one? And I feel like I just need to go, right, we're going to watch all of these,
Before you know it, you've hooned through the entire MCU chronologically.
Oh, you're as bad as Dave. He wanted a friend of mine, Dave, does the RP with me and Matt and Pete. And his other half is a bit of a geek. And he wanted to watch Star Trek, so he spent 2 weeks figuring out chronologically which episodes from which series he should watch.
Wow.
So, Discovery and
But
the
there is no
original series.
continuity in Star Trek.
But he did a spreadsheet and everything, so he knew where he was going to hop into, like tribbles and tribulations and things like that. So,
Wow.
oh my god,
That's some super nerddom right there, man. Talking about RP, Timid Giant Art Peter. I just realized you put a comment on from YouTube. This isn't obviously, well, you'll notice by now because you commented ages ago. This is the podcast, not the RPG, which is on Thursdays, by the way, my friend. So anybody, if you want to watch this RPG, some Dungeons and Dragons, Thursday nights, 9:00. Okay. I think we're going to leave it there. I think we've had a pretty good conversation, and it's been about an hour and a half. It's been super interesting. Andy, thanks a lot, man, for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Facebook message here. Gotta love a spreadsheet. Antonia McFly Kelly. You know what? I live on spreadsheets. That's what I do. Most of my work is on spreadsheets. But yeah. But yes, thank you, Andy. Really appreciate that, man. It's been super interesting. Really. Good luck with your competition. I hope you win, man. And if you don't, you're at least in the top 3.
We shall see. Time will tell.
Do you want to give us some of your socials then?
Valentine costumes on Instagram, Valentine_makes on Twitter, and Valentine Online both on Twitch. And is that it? Oh no, and YouTube. They're my main ones. Stream. Try to stream Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Mix of costuming stuff and gaming. Doing a lot of Fall Guys and just crying at the screen and getting frustrated all the time at the moment, as is the rest of the world. I got a lot of. It's going to be upping, so I'm going to be doing more streaming and that stuff. But yeah, Valentine costumes is the main.
Cool.
Place.
Well, I'll get all the links off you, and I'll stick them in all the blurbs. And
or you can just go to the website thecupids.club, and it's got all of them on there.
The Cupids.club. There you go.
Valentine's Cupids. That's my brand.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you very much, Andy. Thanks to everybody who has commented. So Antonia, Gary from Sneaky Zebra, my sister, and Timid Giant Art Peter. Thank you very much. For tonight, I've been Matt Geary. With me has been Peter Ray Allison.
Good night. Take care and look out for each other.
Mark Canty.
Look after yourself. Stay safe.
And of course, Andy Valentine.
I like trains.
Night, everybody. Bye.